High Admiral Kextar stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the stars through the massive view screen. His fleet of 200 ships moved through space like hungry wolves. Each ship was bigger than a city, armed with weapons that could destroy planets. The Vorthak Empire had ruled the galaxy for 3,000 years, and no one had ever stopped them. Today, they would conquer another world. The planet Kepler Prime was home to the Althari people. These bird-like creatures were peaceful miners who dug crystals from their world's mountains. They had no strong weapons or big armies. The conquest would be easy, just like all the others. Kextar's 4 arms crossed as he smiled. His gray skin was covered in the scars of many battles. His red eyes glowed with satisfaction. Soon the Althari would join the thousands of other species, serving the Empire. Their crystals would feed the Empire's war machine. "Admiral," called his censor officer. "Something strange is happening." Kextar turned his massive head. "What do you mean?" "A ship just appeared in front of our fleet. It came from hyperspace, but we did not detect it until it was already there. On the main screen, a small ship appeared. It was nothing like the huge dark warships of the Empire. This vessel was sleek and silver with sharp angles that caught the starlight. Strange symbols were painted on its hull. The largest letters read, TFS Resilience. "How big is it?" Kextar asked. "Very small, Admiral. Maybe 1/10 the size of our smallest escort ship." Kextar laughed. His deep voice echoed across the bridge. "One tiny ship dares to face the entire Imperial fleet? Are they insane?" The communications officer spoke up. "Admiral, they are sending a message." "Put it on screen." The view screen changed to show the inside of the alien ship. A human male sat in the captain's chair. He had black hair and calm, dark eyes. He wore a simple blue uniform. Behind him, other humans worked at their stations. The human captain spoke, in perfect galactic standard. "Imperial Fleet, I am Captain Lee Hyun of the Terran vessel Resilience. You are ordered to withdraw from this system immediately. The Althari people are under Terran protection." Silence filled Kextar's bridge. Then the Admiral began to laugh again, louder this time. His officers joined in. The idea was ridiculous. One small ship protecting an entire world from the mighty Empire. "Human," Kextar said, his voice full of contempt. "I am High Admiral Kextar, of the Vorthak Empire. We have conquered 1,000 worlds. Your pathetic little ship means nothing to us. Surrender now, and we might let you live as slaves." Captain Lee Hyun's expression did not change. He looked calm, almost peaceful. "Admiral, this is your final warning. Leave this system or face the consequences." Kextar's red eyes blazed with anger. No one spoke to the Empire this way. "Consequences? You dare threaten us? We will crush your ship like an insect and use your bones to decorate our victory celebration." The human captain nodded slowly. "Very well. You were warned." The communication ended. On the main screen, the small human ship began to move. But it did not run away, as Kextar expected. Instead, it turned toward the massive Imperial fleet and began to accelerate. "Admiral," the censor officer called out, his voice worried. "Their ship is moving very fast, faster than our sensors can track properly." "How fast?" "Impossible speeds, sir, and their energy readings are unlike anything in our database." Kextar felt the first touch of doubt, but he pushed it away. Numbers were numbers. 200 ships against 1. The outcome was certain. "All ships, open fire," he commanded. "Destroy that vessel." Hundreds of plasma cannons fired at once. Bright beams of energy filled space between the fleets. Missile swarms launched from every Imperial ship, each weapon powerful enough to level a city. The combined firepower could have melted a moon. But something impossible happened. The human ship danced through the attack like it was dancing through raindrops. It twisted and turned with movements that should have torn it apart. Weapons that should have hit passed through empty space as the ship seemed to phase in and out of reality. "How are they doing that?" Kextar demanded. His tactical officer stared at his instruments. "I don't know, Admiral. Our targeting systems cannot lock onto them. They appear to be using some kind of space-folding technology." The human ship reached the edge of the Imperial formation. Now Kextar could see what kind of weapons it carried. Brilliant beams of energy struck out from the small vessel. Where they hit Imperial ships, armor plating simply disappeared. Shields that had never failed collapsed instantly. Impossible, Kextar whispered. The resilience moved through his fleet. Like a predator among prey, it was everywhere at once, striking from angles that should not exist. Imperial ships tried to surround it, but it appeared behind them before they could react. Their weapons could not touch it, but its weapons cut through their defenses like they were made of paper. One by one, massive Imperial dreadnoughts began to die. Ships that had conquered entire star systems were reduced to scrap metal in minutes. The crews barely had time to scream before their vessels exploded or went dark. But the human ship did not just destroy. Sometimes it fired strange beams that made Imperial ships stop working but left the crews alive. Teams of human soldiers appeared on these disabled vessels as if they had stepped through the walls themselves. "Admiral," his communications officer said, terror in his voice. "We are receiving surrender messages from captured ships. The humans are taking prisoners, not killing everyone." Kextar could not understand it. In 3,000 years of conquest, no one had ever shown mercy to Imperial forces. They fought to the death or were destroyed. But these humans were different. They fought with impossible skill, but they did not kill unless they had to. Hours passed. The great Imperial fleet was falling apart. Ships fled in panic or drifted as dead hulks. The small human vessel continued its deadly dance, untouchable and unstoppable. "Admiral," his navigation officer said quietly, "we have lost over half the fleet. Should we retreat?" Kextar stared at the view screen. His pride screamed at him to fight to the end, but his survival instincts were stronger. He had never seen anything like this. One ship had destroyed an entire invasion fleet. "All remaining ships," he commanded, his voice heavy with defeat. "Retreat to Imperial space. Emergency hyperspace jump now." As the survivors of his once mighty fleet fled through hyperspace, Kextar wondered what kind of beings these humans really were, and he feared what would happen when the Empire learned that they were no longer the strongest force in the galaxy. Behind them, the Resilience floated peacefully among the wreckage, its crew already beginning rescue operations for the survivors of the battle they had won so completely. Captain Lee Hyun stood in the engineering section of the Resilience, watching Lieutenant Kim Na work at her control station. Around them, the ship hummed with quiet energy. The battle with the Imperial fleet was over, but Lee knew this was just the beginning. "How are our systems, Kim?" he asked. Lieutenant Kim Na looked up from her displays. She was young but brilliant, with short black hair and quick hands that never stopped moving across her controls. "All systems running perfectly, Captain. The quantum drives handled the stress better than expected. We can do that again if we need to." Lee nodded. During the battle, Kim had pushed their experimental technology beyond all safety limits. The boss ship had phased in and out of normal space, appearing behind enemy formations before they could react. It was dangerous, but it worked. "Good work. Keep monitoring everything. I have a feeling we'll need every advantage soon." On the bridge, Commander Park Soo was studying the battle recordings. He was Lee's oldest friend and the best tactical officer in the Terran fleet. His calm face showed no emotion as he watched. Imperial ships explode on his screen. "Park, what do you think?" Lee asked as he returned to the bridge. "They fought like amateurs, Captain. No real strategy, just brute force. They expected their size and numbers to win the battle for them." Park touched his control panel. "But they'll learn from this defeat. Next time will be harder." Lee sat in his captain's chair. Through the main view screen, he could see the Althari ships approaching. The bird-like aliens were bringing supplies and medical aid to help with the Imperial survivors. It was exactly what Lee had hoped for. Proof that not all species in the galaxy were warlike. Dr. Han Sol entered the bridge carrying her medical scanner. She was the ship's doctor and their expert on alien biology. Her gentle manner hid a sharp intelligence that had saved many lives. "Captain, I've examined some of the Imperial prisoners. They're scared but not badly hurt. Their medical technology is primitive compared to ours. I've been able to heal injuries they thought were permanent." "That's good news, Doctor. Treat them well. We want them to remember that we're not like their empire." Sergeant Chobin's voice came over the intercom from the ship's security section. "Captain, The boarding teams have finished searching the captured Imperial vessels. We've found their communication logs and tactical databases. Excellent work. Sergeant, send everything to Commander Park for analysis. Cho Bin was their best Marine, a quiet man who could move through enemy ships like a ghost. During the battle, he had led teams that captured key Imperial vessels without killing a single crew member. It was exactly the kind of precision operation that made humans different from other species. Park's eyes widened as he read the captured data. Captain, this is interesting. The Imperial fleet we defeated was not just here to conquer the Althari. They were also investigating reports of unknown technology in this sector. Unknown technology? Yes. It seems other Imperial fleets have encountered strange phenomena recently. Ships that move impossibly fast, weapons that ignore their shields, communications that can't be intercepted. They were trying to find the source. Lee felt a cold weight in his stomach. He knew what Park had found. The Empire wasn't just facing one human ship. They were facing evidence that humanity was active throughout the galaxy. How much do they know about us? Not much yet. But Captain, look at this. Park transferred an image to the main screen. It showed a star chart of the local sector with red marks scattered across it. These are all recent Imperial defeats or strange encounters. If someone connects these dots, Lee studied the pattern. Each red mark represented another Terran ship like the Resilience, another crew fighting to protect innocent worlds from Imperial conquest. The plan was working, but it was also becoming visible. Kim Na's voice called from engineering. Captain, we're receiving a priority message from Terran Command. Put it through to my ready room. Lee went to his private office behind the bridge. The communication screen activated, showing the face of Admiral Chen Wei, commander of the hidden Terran fleet. The old man's expression was grim. Lee, we've been monitoring your situation. Well done on the Imperial fleet, but we have a problem. Intelligence reports that the Empire is mobilizing a massive response force. Over 500 ships, including their fortress ship Dominator. 500 ships. Lee tried to keep his voice steady. The Resilience was powerful, but those were impossible odds. It gets worse. Emperor Zul'Kan himself is coming. This isn't just another conquest fleet. They're treating this as an existential threat to their empire. Lee thought quickly. Admiral, how long do we have? 3 days? Maybe 4? Lee, no one would blame you if you withdrew. One ship cannot face that kind of force. No, sir. If we run now, the Althari and every other peaceful species in this sector will pay the price. We have to make a stand here. Admiral Chen's weathered face showed pride and worry in equal measure. I hoped you'd say that. We can't send reinforcements, they'd be detected, but we're transmitting some new technical specifications to Kim Na's station. Experimental modifications that might give you an edge. What kind of modifications? Quantum multiplication technology. Very dangerous, completely untested in real combat, but if it works... Chen paused. Let's just say the Empire might get a surprise. The communication ended. Lee returned to the bridge, where his crew was already studying the new technical data. Kim Na looked up from her station, excitement in her eyes. Captain, this technology is incredible. If I understand it correctly, we could create multiple copies of our ship, all real, all fully functional. How many copies? Dozens, maybe more, each one controlled through quantum entanglement. The Empire would face not one ship, but an entire fleet. Park studied the tactical implications. It could work, Captain, but the power requirements would be enormous, and if something goes wrong, the ship could be torn apart at the quantum level, Kim finished. But if we don't try, we'll definitely lose against 500 Imperial ships. Lee looked at his crew, his friends who had followed him across the galaxy on this desperate mission. They were far from home, facing impossible odds, but none of them showed fear. Dr. Han, medical assessment? The quantum fields could be dangerous to biological tissue, but I can modify our medical systems to protect us. Sergeant Cho, can your Marines handle operations across multiple ships simultaneously? Cho's voice came over the intercom, steady as always. Yes, sir. We've trained for quantum combat scenarios. Lee made his decision. Kim, begin the modifications. Park, start planning tactics for fleet-level combat. Everyone else, prepare for the fight of our lives. As his crew worked to prepare their impossible defenses, Lee looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the largest fleet in Imperial history was coming to destroy them. The Empire thought they were facing just another inferior species. They were about to learn why humanity had survived when their own homeworld had been destroyed. They were about to discover what happened when humans stopped holding back. Emperor Zul'Kan sat on his massive throne in the Imperial Palace, his 8 arms gripping the armrests until the metal bent. The golden chamber was filled with his highest commanders, but none dared to speak. The news from the Kepler system had shaken the Empire to its core. 200 ships, the Emperor said, his voice like grinding stone. 200 of our finest warships destroyed by a single alien vessel. High Admiral Kextar knelt before the throne, his proud head bowed in shame. His scarred gray skin showed the burns he had received during his escape from the battle. My Emperor, I witnessed it myself. Their technology is unlike anything we have ever encountered. Technology? General Mortis stepped forward, his massive form towering over the other commanders. The leader of the Imperial ground forces had never lost a battle. No technology can overcome proper tactics and overwhelming numbers. Kextar simply failed to use his advantages. Kextar's red eyes blazed, but he kept his head down. General, you did not see what I saw. That human ship moved through space like it was alive. Our weapons could not touch it, but its weapons cut through our strongest shields. Scientist Prime Velnok shuffled forward, his thin frame bent with age. The Empire's greatest scientist had spent days studying the battle recordings. My Emperor, I have analyzed every moment of the engagement. The humans possess mastery of quantum mechanics that surpasses our understanding by centuries. Emperor. Zul'Kan's primary arms gestured impatiently. Explain. Their ship appears to manipulate the fabric of space-time itself. They can phase between dimensions, making themselves untouchable while remaining able to attack us. Their weapons ignore our shields because they strike from angles that exist outside normal space. The Emperor's secondary arms began drumming on his throne, a sign of dangerous anger. Are you telling me that one primitive species has surpassed the technological achievements of our 3,000-year empire? Velnok's voice was barely above a whisper. My Emperor, I do not believe they are primitive. The precision of their technology suggests a level of scientific advancement that should take millions of years to achieve. General Mortis snorted with contempt. Science means nothing without the will to use it properly. These humans showed mercy to our captured crews. That weakness will be their downfall. Perhaps, Velnok said carefully, but their mercy may also indicate confidence. They spared our soldiers because they knew they could afford to. Silence fell over the chamber. The idea that any species could be so far ahead of the Empire that they could show mercy was terrifying to consider. Emperor Zul'Kan rose from his throne, his full height making him tower over everyone in the room. Enough speculation. I will not allow some unknown species to threaten our empire. General Mortis, mobilize the Grand Fleet. 500 ships, including the Dominator. Mortis smiled, showing his sharp teeth. The Dominator was the Empire's most powerful vessel, a mobile fortress the size of a small moon. My Emperor, surely such force is unnecessary against one small ship. One small ship that destroyed 200 of ours, Zul'Kan replied coldly. I will not underestimate these humans again, and General, I will be coming with you. The announcement shocked everyone in the chamber. The Emperor had not personally led a military campaign in over a century. My Emperor, Kextar said carefully. Is that wise? If something should happen to you, nothing will happen to me, because we will crush these humans completely. No survivors, no mercy. The galaxy must see what happens to those who dare challenge the Empire. 3 days later, the largest fleet in Imperial history gathered in the Vector system, just one hyperspace jump from Kepler Prime. 500 warships filled the space, around the system's dead star, their hulls black against the cosmic background. At the center of the formation hung the Dominator, a massive sphere bristling with weapons. Its surface was covered with docking bays, manufacturing centers, and weapon platforms. It was less a ship than a mobile world dedicated to warfare. Emperor Zul'Khan stood on the fortress ship's command bridge, watching his fleet through the enormous view screen. Beside him, General Mortis reviewed tactical displays while Scientist Prime Velnok monitored scanning equipment. "My Emperor," the fleet communications officer reported. "All ships report ready for hyperspace jump. Scan the target system one more time," Zul'Khan commanded. Long-range sensors probed the Kepler system. The results appeared on the main display. One small human ship, exactly where the survivors had left it. No reinforcements, no hidden bases, no massive fleet, just one ship, General Mortis said with satisfaction. "They are either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid." Velnok studied his instruments with growing confusion. "My Emperor, something is strange. I am detecting the same energy signature from the human vessel, but it appears to be fluctuating. What does that mean?" "I am not certain. The readings are unlike anything in our database." Zul'Khan dismissed the scientist's concerns with a wave of his hand. "It does not matter. No single ship can face this fleet and survive. Begin the hyperspace. Jump!" The Imperial Grand Fleet vanished from normal space in a flash of twisted light. Moments later, they emerged in the Kepler system, spreading into attack formation around the small human vessel. Zul'Khan stared at the view screen, expecting to see panic and fear from the tiny ship. Instead, the human vessel sat calmly in space, as if 500 warships meant nothing to it. "Communications," the Emperor commanded. "Open a channel to the human ship." The screen changed to show Captain Li Hyun sitting in his command chair, looking as calm as ever. Behind him, his crew worked at their stations without any sign of fear. "Human Captain," Zul'Khan's voice boomed across the communication channel. "I am Emperor Zul'Khan of the Vorthak Empire. You destroyed my fleet and humiliated my forces. For this crime, you will be destroyed completely." Captain Li Hyun looked directly into the camera, his dark eyes steady. "Emperor Zul'Khan, I gave your admiral a chance to withdraw peacefully. I will extend the same courtesy to you. Leave this system now, and no harm will come to your people." The bridge of the Dominator erupted in shocked laughter from the Imperial officers. The idea that a single small ship could threaten the Empire's mightiest fleet was beyond ridiculous, but Emperor Zul'Khan did not laugh. Something in the human captain's voice reminded him of his own tone when addressing lesser species. It was the voice of someone who held all the advantages. "You face 500 ships, human. 500 ships, and the personal attention of the Emperor himself. Surrender now, and your death will be quick." Captain Li Hyun nodded slowly, just as he had done with Admiral Kextar. "Very well, Emperor. You have been warned." The communication ended. On the main view screen, the small human ship began to move. But instead of trying to escape, it accelerated directly toward the center of the Imperial formation. "All ships, open. Fire!" Emperor Zul'Khan commanded. "Destroy that vessel now!" 500 warships opened fire at once, the space between the fleets filled with energy beams and missile swarms. It was enough firepower to sterilize an entire star system. But as the weapons reached their target, something impossible happened. The single human ship suddenly became 2 ships, then 4, then 8. In seconds, dozens of identical vessels filled the space where one had been. "What is happening?" Zul'Khan roared. Scientist Prime Velnok stared at his instruments in terror. "My Emperor, they are using quantum multiplication technology. Each ship is real, each one fully functional. We are no longer facing one vessel. We are facing an entire fleet. The duplicated human ships spread out and began their attack. Now it was the Imperial fleet that was outnumbered, facing enemies that moved like ghosts and struck like lightning. Emperor Zul'Khan watched his mighty armada begin to die, ship by ship, and realized that he had made a terrible mistake. The humans had not been desperate when they faced his first fleet. They had been holding back. The battle raged across the Kepler system like a storm of light and fire. What had begun as 500 Imperial warships facing one human vessel had become the largest space battle in galactic history. Dozens of identical copies of the Resilience danced through the Imperial formation, each one striking with impossible precision. On the bridge of the original Resilience, Captain Li Hyun watched the tactical display with calm satisfaction. Each quantum duplicate showed up as a blue dot on his screen, all of them moving in perfect coordination. Through quantum entanglement, he could command all of them as easily as one ship. "Kim, how are the quantum drives holding up?" he asked. "Lieutenant." Kim Na's hands flew across her control panels, monitoring systems that pushed the laws of physics to their limits. "All duplicates are stable, Captain. The quantum fields are holding better than our simulations predicted." "That's because you're brilliant," Lee said with a smile. "How many active duplicates do we have?" 47 and counting. Each one is drawing power from the quantum foam itself. We're limited only by how much our minds can handle. Commander, Park Soo studied the battle from his tactical station. Around them, Imperial ships burned or drifted as dead hulks. But the enemy was learning, adapting their tactics to face multiple opponents instead of one. "Captain, they're starting to coordinate better. The Emperor's flagship is directing their fire more effectively." Lee nodded. The massive Dominator hung at the center of the Imperial formation like a dark moon, its countless weapons blazing. Even the quantum duplicates had trouble penetrating its shields. "What do you recommend?" "We need to cut off their command structure. If we can disable the Dominator's communications, their fleet will fall apart." "Agreed. But that ship is too well defended for a direct assault." Dr. Han Sol looked up from her medical station. Throughout the battle, she had been monitoring the crew's health as they controlled dozens of ships simultaneously. "Captain, I'm detecting something interesting from our prisoners. The Imperial crew members we captured are showing signs of extreme stress, but not fear." "What do you mean?" "They're confused, not terrified. In their minds, this battle should be impossible. Their entire understanding of warfare is breaking down." Lee understood immediately. The Empire had ruled through superior technology and overwhelming force for thousands of years. They had never faced an enemy who could match their advantages and exceed them. Sergeant Cho Bin's voice came over the intercom from the security section. "Captain, our boarding teams are reporting something strange. The Imperial soldiers we've captured keep asking the same question. How are you so strong?" "What are you telling them?" "The truth, sir. That humans learn to fight by fighting each other for thousands of years. They don't seem to understand what that means." Lee activated the ship-wide communication system. "All hands, this is the captain. We're fighting well, but I want everyone to understand what we're really doing here. We're not just defeating an enemy fleet. We're showing them a different way to think about strength." On the quantum duplicate designated Resilience 7, Dr. Han Sol's counterpart was treating wounded Imperial prisoners in the medical bay. The TASS, aliens stared at her with confusion as she healed injuries their own doctors had declared permanent. "Why do you help us?" asked an Imperial officer, his gray skin marked with old battle scars. "We came here to destroy you." Dr. Han looked up from her medical scanner. "Because that's what we do. We help those who need help, even if they were our enemies moments before. But we are inferior to you. Your technology, your tactics, your weapons. Everything is better than ours. Why don't you simply conquer us?" "Because conquest doesn't make anyone stronger. It just makes the conqueror lazy and the conquered resentful. We learned that lesson long ago." The Imperial officer struggled. To understand, in his world, the strong ruled and the weak served. The idea that strength could be used for protection instead of domination was alien to him. Meanwhile, on the bridge of the Dominator, Emperor Zul'Kan watched his fleet crumble with growing desperation. His ships were being destroyed faster than they could respond. The human vessels moved like they could read his mind, anticipating every tactic before he could implement it. "How many ships have we lost?" he demanded. General Mortis checked his tactical displays, his confident manner now replaced by worry. "Over half the fleet, my Emperor, and we have only destroyed 3 of their vessels." "Only 3? But there are dozens of them out there!" Scientist Prime Velnock spoke from his monitoring station, his voice filled with awe and terror. "My Emperor, I believe I understand what they are doing. They are not just copying their ship. They are copying their entire crew's knowledge and experience. Each duplicate fights with the same skill as the original. That's impossible. For us, yes. But these humans have mastered quantum mechanics at a level we cannot comprehend. They are sharing consciousness across multiple realities simultaneously." Emperor Zul'Kan stared at the view screen, watching human ships destroy his most powerful warships with ease. For the first time in his long life, he felt true fear. What are they? The answer came from an unexpected source. On one of the quantum duplicates, Sergeant Cho Bin was interrogating a captured Imperial admiral. The conversation was being broadcast to all ships through their quantum communication network. "You want to know what we are?" Cho asked the alien prisoner. "We are survivors. Our home world was destroyed centuries ago. We spent generations learning to fight against enemies who were stronger, faster, and more numerous than us." The Imperial Admiral's eyes widened. "Your world was destroyed? But you are so advanced." "We became advanced because we had to. When you face extinction, you either evolve or you die. We chose to evolve." Captain Lee Hyun heard this conversation and made a decision. He opened a communication channel to the Imperial flagship, his calm face appearing on their main screen. "Emperor Zulkan," Lee said, his voice carrying across space to the Dominator's bridge. "I think it's time you understood what you're really fighting." The Emperor's rage boiled over. "You have destroyed my fleet, human. You have humiliated the Empire itself." "I have defended innocent people from conquest, just as I will defend them from the next threat and the one after that." Lee's expression grew serious. "Emperor, your empire has ruled this galaxy for 3,000 years, but you have made it weak. You conquered through superior force, never through superior thinking. We are the strongest species in the galaxy." "No," Lee replied quietly. "You were the strongest, but strength built on conquest alone is brittle. It breaks when it meets something stronger." On his tactical display, Lee could see that only a few dozen Imperial ships remained functional. The mighty Grand Fleet had been reduced to scattered survivors. "But here's what you don't understand, Emperor. We didn't come here to conquer you. We came to save you." Emperor Zulkan's confusion was visible on his alien features. "Save us? From what?" Lee activated a long-range sensor display that showed the edge of the galaxy. There, barely visible against the cosmic background, were shapes that did not belong. Ships, but not from any species in the Milky Way. "From them," Lee said simply. "The same force that destroyed Earth is coming here. Your empire, for all its flaws, has been the only thing standing between this galaxy and complete annihilation. But you're not strong enough to face what's coming." The revelation hit the Imperial bridge like a physical blow. Emperor Zulkan stared at the sensor readings, his mind struggling to process the implications. "We are," Lee continued, "assuming you're willing to learn. Willing to become something better than conquerors. Willing to become protectors." The battle was ending, but Captain Lee Hyun knew that the real war was just beginning. The question now was whether the Empire could evolve fast enough to survive what was coming. 3 months after the battle at Kepler Prime, the galaxy was changing in ways no one had imagined possible. Captain Lee Hyun stood in the observation deck of the Imperial Palace, looking out at a sight that would have been impossible just a year ago. Human and Imperial ships working together in the planet's orbital shipyards. The great palace itself had been transformed. Where once only Imperial banners had hung, now flags from dozens of species decorated the walls. The Althari bird people worked alongside Vorthak engineers. Former slave species sat at planning tables with their old masters, designing new ships for exploration instead of conquest. Emperor Zulkan entered the observation deck, his 8 arms carrying data tablets and star charts. The massive ruler looked tired but determined. The revelation that his empire faced extinction from an external threat had changed him completely. "Captain Lee," the Emperor said, his voice no longer holding the arrogance of absolute power. "The latest reports from our scout ships are disturbing. The extragalactic fleet has crossed into our outer spiral arm. We have perhaps 6 months before they reach populated systems." Lee studied the star charts Zulkan spread across a nearby table. Red markers showed the advancing enemy fleet, a force so vast it darkened the space between galaxies. "How many ships do our scouts estimate?" "At least 10,000, perhaps more. And Captain..." Zulkan's voice dropped to a whisper. "They are destroying everything, not conquering, not enslaving. Complete annihilation of every world they encounter." Dr. Han Sul approached from across the observation deck, where she had been working with Imperial medical teams. Her gentle manner had helped ease tensions between species that had been enemies for generations. Emperor Captain, I finished reviewing the genetic samples from destroyed worlds in the Outer Rim. The extragalactic force isn't just killing populations, they're sterilizing planets completely. Nothing survives their passing. Lee felt the familiar weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. This was why humanity had scattered across the galaxy after Earth's destruction, not for revenge, but for this moment when they would be needed to save others. Commander Park Soo joined them, his tactical mind focused on the impossible challenge ahead. Captain, even with all the improvements we've made to the Imperial fleet, we're facing overwhelming odds. 10,000 ships against maybe 2,000 of ours. Numbers don't tell the whole story, Park. 6 months ago, this empire ruled through fear and oppression. Look at it now. Through the observation deck windows, they could see the proof of Lee's words. In